I want to thank my nominator, Chief Harold Kingfisher. I want to thank also the person who seconded my nomination, Chief Fred Martell. It's becoming more and more difficult now to deal with white men's governments. As Chief Kingfisher has mentioned, my father has been chief for 16 years. Surely I must have learned something from that. I think my record stands for itself in that there are only 4 people on welfare on my reservation right now. There's nobody going to stop me. Nobody. I can be a member of parliament unless, my great-great-grandfather signed the treaty, and he said, the white man said in those treaties, we will teach to the wit and cunning of the white man. And so I've learned the wit and the cunning of the white man. And now I'm going to pit it against him. And if he doesn't like it, that's tough.
Chief Noel Starblanket of the Starblanket Band, 120 Cree Indians living on a small reserve in South Saskatchewan. At 26, he has twice been elected chief, and now he has raised his sights. He wants to be a vice president of all Saskatchewan Indians. Some of the older chiefs resent him. He pushes too hard. He steps on toes. But to the people on his reserve, Noel Starblanket is a chief who delivers the goods.
Victor. Lorraine. Victor. Catch.
Written in gold across purple jackets is the name of the band, which, coincidentally, is also the name of the chief.
Purple is sort of mod today, and everybody sort of dug purple, and gold was sort of a cool color, and so purple and gold sort of fell in, and then it turned out not so bad. Actually, I was kind of afraid of what purple and gold would look like, but they didn't turn out so bad.
You got a suede jacket to wear.
Yeah, I got a buckskin jacket, and I got a suede jacket. I can afford to buy clothes, which I couldn't do when I was, 10, 15, 20 years old. I couldn't afford a jacket like that until I was 25, Okay, so I'm making the bucks now. That's all right. But there'll come a time, sometime too, when these people can afford that,
Starblanket is an expert on the government grant. He knows where the money is and how to get it. As a result, almost everyone in the reserve has a job. While Starblanket hustles for his band in Regina and Ottawa, the day-to-day business on the reserve is run by his brother Fred, an ex-alcoholic.
Yeah, what about serving some beverages, alcoholic beverages with the meal? As a matter of fact, I and the chief were talking strongly about putting a bar right in the hall there. So instead of our people going to town to get drunk and walking down the street, staggering down the streets, they can stagger down the roads here. And it won't be so bad. If any of you want to change your religion, there's a new Mormon elder around too. And I've given him permission to go around and visit. Seems to be a fairly nice guy.
And to remember Jesus Christ and the things that he did for us, and how they help us in our lives, and help us to come back to our Heavenly Father and show our Heavenly Father that he loves us, that we love him too. So we'll be there at 4:30 tomorrow and talk to you about it, okay?
I was looking at the diary of one of these little Mormon elders one time, and he was talking about one of the counselors from the next reserve. He's the biggest drunk, around File Hills, one of the biggest drunks. And he writes in his little book in his diary there, just about got Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so converted. All we need to do now is get that damn cigarette out of his mouth. Supposed to be a Mormon elder. This is funny. And the guy, shoots his wife and kicks the shit out of his wife and just about converted, I think the only thing you can convert him to is onto whiskey instead of beer or something.
There's one other problem I want to bring up, and it's sort of a touchy one, but I want to give it to you straight. You all know we're a very close-knit band here. Everybody knows what's happening in the next house. Everybody knows what's going on over there. Everybody knows what's happening on the weekends. Everybody knows who the drinkers are. Everybody knows who the drunks are. Everybody knows who runs around with whose wife and this type of thing. Now, that breeds gossip. And there's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of stories. There's been a lot of rumors going around about everybody else, and it makes us feel shitty. I'm not saying that you're all gossipers, but there's been a lot of gossip going on, and this doesn't make for good working relationship, this doesn't make for good friendship, this doesn't make for good anything, getting along. I know there's been a lot of stories going on about me. So what? That's your problem. If you want to talk about somebody, that's your problem. You talk about me all you want, that doesn't bother me.
There's stories go around about me that I drink a lot. I fool around with women because I'm eligible, I'm single, never married. And there's a lot of stories resulting from that. The fact that I don't live on a reserve, and the old people will prey on that. People think I'm dictatorial because of my own command of whatever I have, you know. I command whatever I have, you know, and that's the way it's got to be. Otherwise, I'm not going to have it.
What sort of a job do you think Noel's doing as chief?
He's doing a real good job.
Yeah. In what way?
Well, he's really helping the people, you know, getting them out off of welfare and, you know, making them feel like they're doing something, you know, helping.
This reserve has been at a standstill up until the time he took over. I can say that for him. He's helped us a great deal. The way things are going now, it's going to be a good place, I think, in a few years' time. Be a good place to settle down and stay.
Okay, Butch, you're on.
The chief doesn't stay on the reserve. He lives in Regina, 55 miles away, where he has a grant to do Indian treaty research and is campaigning for election as a vice president of the Federation of Saskatchewan Indians. He operates at night from the Georgia Hotel.
Saturday I'll be okay. Okay. I don't know, she's just setting me up.
Your father-in-law was a chief, and your father was a chief, and now you have a grandson that's a chief. What do you think about that?
Oh, it's pretty good.
Is he as good as Starblanket?
I don't think so. Chief Starblanket used to stay in one place in his own reserve, but this one goes to Regina and stay over there.
Why do you think he does that?
I don't know. It's on account of girls, I think.
Maybe he'll get better when he gets older.
Has he ever chopped wood and snared rabbits?
No.
Sure I did, when I was small.
I don't think he knows how to handle an axe.
Not anymore.
Noel's grandfather, the old chief Starblanket, spent a lifetime fighting the white bureaucracy in Ottawa, but got along well with his white neighbors. The Battersby brothers, still living on the family homestead on the edge of the Starblanket Reserve, remember the chief well. When they were boys, Starblanket would come to hunt, and his 5 wives would walk ahead of him to beat a path through the snow, where he was then very old. And after the hunt, he would come to the house with his wives and eat, using sign language, for he spoke only Cree. And then he would sleep before riding back to the reserve. In 1912, the Duke of Connaught, Governor-General of Canada, visited the Qu'Appelle Valley of South Saskatchewan. Starblanket's relationships were not as good with the white representatives of His Majesty the King. Starblanket had been deposed as chief for killing cows contrary to government regulations and for refusing to send his children away to government boarding schools. Starblanket delivered a note to the Governor-General. "Little children," he said, "are being torn from their mother's arms by government agents, perhaps to take sick and die where their family cannot see them. The buffalo and the deer are gone, and our people will soon be hard to find." Starblanket's pleas were largely ignored. He was considered a bad example to other Indians on the reserve. Remarkable, the Indian agent said, for unruly and insubordinate conduct.
And there was white guys passing beside me about 40, 50 miles an hour, and I slowed right down to 30 as soon as I knew there was a cop behind me. No way, boy, he was after me. Got me, cost me $36 for that goddamn thing. Jeez, I was mad. You know, he looks in, we had these white chicks sitting in the car, and he says, Then they both come each door, you know, as if we're goddamn criminals or something. And, well, that was all right, but then when I got in the car and he started saying, Starblanket, you know, what kind of a name is that, you know?
Now there's EPC. James William? Okay.
7 Star.
It is Treaty Day for the Starblanket Band, that annual occasion when each member receives a medical examination and $5 cash in accordance with the treaty signed between Starblanket's great-grandfather and the representatives of Queen Victoria.
Sharon, you're still on with your mother. So you owe her $5, don't forget.
And the Mr. Starblanket.
Noel.
Your number, Noel, is
115.
115.
You want to get paid for your 3 wives as well?
Starblanket, who draws a good salary and owns a school bus, uses his treaty money to buy beer for Indian agents.
Lindsay Star?
$5. What's that? For what?
And land sold. Now, when they made treaties was nation to nation.
Uh-huh.
Now, me, I'm a drunken.
What was that all about?
Oh, they had a big brawl down here last night.
You said he was missing somebody.
A couple of guys missing, yeah.
Right.
There was a fight, and there was knives used, and one fella is in custody right now with a gash across his hand, and the other fella, who was supposed to have gotten the raw end of the deal, is missing. Now, it appeared that he was the only one that was losing blood, and there was blood all over the house, and the police felt that he was in pretty bad shape, but they couldn't find him. And this is why they have a plane out here looking for him. They figure he may have walked away. Nobody seems to know where he went. He walked out of the house, and everybody was too drunk to really question him or to stop him from leaving.
Where are our 2 guys now?
Our 2 guys are at home. They were home this afternoon anyway. I stopped in there.
Still drinking?
They were driving around looking for this particular fella.
You were saying it was all, you know, they were using it for parties. What's the kind of, the guys that are living in it, or?
Well, the guy's wife left him with only 2 kids.
Yeah.
2 kids, and he's been on a binge since about 2 months now. And he's been suspended twice, and the 3rd chance he got, we fired him. So, and he's been drinking since, so he's not doing anything for the community, so we're going to ask him to leave his house.
We have 3 houses on the reserve right now that are not used to their fullest advantage. We have 1 person in each of these houses as of today. Old man is here, Ronnie's here, and Sidney's here. He's the only guy that's living in that house, right? Right now. Now, is it a possibility that we could use these houses for other families? Now, this is up for discussion. We're not saying we're going to take these houses right now, but it's open for discussion.
He said, I don't see why, he says, I should give it up now. He says, I'm old, he says, maybe I'm not too long for this world, he says, but at least I want to enjoy the house, he says. Ever since it got, like, renovated, you know. It's fixed up now. He says, I like to enjoy that for a while. That's the answer I got when I told him about it.
Anybody else?
My house got burnt up last fall, you know. And then, I was just like a little lost pup there on the road. And Ben started coming along. Come on, Daddy, come and live with me, he says. Okay? I want to remain there. And Ben is gone. He told me to keep his place till he bring his family home. I guess that's all I can say for just now.
They like to have a house of their own, so you don't have to send them to an old folks home. They don't like to live in an old folks home.
Would you live in a place like that, Ronnie?
How would you?
I'm just asking you, for Christ's sakes.
I got my own place. Stay up there. What are you trying to take me out of there for? Huh? Well, what the hell fail? What the hell? I don't know what damn place. Go to hell. I'll tell you straight. Both of you there.
The consensus seems to be that they want their own place to live in, other than a central place where we can have them all together and where they can enjoy each other's company.
People that would like to see these people that are living in the houses right now continue to live in their, let's see, your hands. If you, all those people that we talked about, Ronnie and Sydney and old man, we would like to see them, see the band council try and get something else and get these guys to move out. You know, you guys are giving us a hell of a job, you know, because we gotta go and get these things. You know, it's easy for you guys to sit there. I want my own home. You know, I want my own home. Well, Fred doesn't even have a house. Irvin doesn't have a house. I don't have a house. You know, it's a difficult situation that we're in, and it's one I don't like to be in. Of course, I guess that's why you put me here. But I don't want anybody to leave this meeting with the feeling that we're going to kick them out. Charlie, you explain that to the old man, eh? And Ronnie, don't want you running around saying that the council is going to kick me out of my house. That's not true. We're asking what the people think. This summer we're going to be traveling around in my bus to all the ball team tournaments every weekend. You always got your little white chicks hanging around with the Indian guys, you know. We call them native bicycles. There's usually about 2 or 3 hanging around. Everybody gets a chance in there, you know, every member of the ball club.
Come back here.
The more they walk in, the blacker they get, he says.
Black
I didn't know whether he was going to be offended or not.
You better learn that.
Then he walks in with a black shirt.
No, I might know this and I might not, but you're black and your heart pumps piss. I said this before and I'll say it again.
Stick around. Stick around. I tell you now, you know, Lewis learned that it's not the color of somebody's skin is important, it's the color of their thinking. You know, and that's where the key to the damn thing is.
Starblanket's dream for his tiny reserve is a cattle and grain farming operation. Starblanket men are coming back from as far as California to help work the farm.
Yeah, just drive along the edge here so until we get so far, then you can go.
Okay.
A white farmer, Kelly Kramer, has leased 2,500 acres on the reserve. His lease runs through to 1981, but Chief Starblanket wants the land back now.
Ever since I've been chief, I've been pressuring this guy and saying, look, you know, we're going to take over, we're going to take over. Finally, he said, okay, look, I'm willing to let you take over. But this year's been a very dry year, so I'll let him take the loss. You know, next year I'll take over. But this year we're getting our cattle in.
But he's not a bad guy.
He's not a bad guy, no. Except he makes $65,000 a year gross from our land. Why the hell should a white man get that if we can get it, you know?
When you ask me if I'm willing to relinquish my lease rights, I would say I'd be very happy to see you people farm. However, it does leave me with the problem of having equipment that is really not saleable to any other operation than operations of this size.
We take over Kelly now. No offense, Kelly, to your equipment. Perhaps it's in good condition, but chances are if we have breakdown there, it's going to cost us something, you know?
If anybody would like to have...
While negotiations continue, the chief and his counselors have been drafting grant applications, trying to raise the $300,000 needed for the farm.
Because we're not just talking about $300,000. We're talking about planning your life for the next 20 years. So, you know, look at it and see whether it's good or not. Because I hate like hell to go and put it in front of the committee and then 20 years' time you'll say, oh, that young bugger, you know, he was crazy, sold us down the river and all that. So it's your chance now.
Now, we threw in a couple of horses. We're going to have to do a little pasture riding here. And as I look through my projections a little later
The chief and his counselors meet with representatives of the federal and provincial governments, looking with a practiced eye for a loan here, a grant there, that will make the farm a reality.
I was wondering if Department of Indian Affairs have some sort of grant where we could cut back on this here.
There is an area for capital development.
What about the provincial governments? Do they have, there's certain departments that provide for certain of these items in here, eh?
There's provision for assistance on some of these.
That's what I'm thinking about, like, you know, if we can rip off provincial government and the federal government and offset some of these costs and we're further ahead, you know. We go for less of a loan. If I can rip off the white man for his plumbing and his electricity and his telephone, sure I will. I mean, isn't that what we all need, eh? We can't live today in teepees and washing ourselves in streams. We can't do that anymore. We've got to use the white man's trappings. But on the other hand, we can retain our own philosophy, our own traditions. Yeah, I want to see people happy. I want to see my own people happy. I want to see the white man kiss my Indians' ass on my reserve. Yeah, Giselle, this is a letter to the town merchants in Belcaris. It's dated for May 7th, 1973. Dear merchants, the Four File Hills Indian bands will be sponsoring a powwow July 13, 14, 15, 73. We are anticipating the attendance of some 5,000 or more people. These people will be visiting and using your facilities and services during the event period. We are anticipating thousands of dollars to be spent in your town during these 3 days period. Consequently, we are soliciting your support in the form of a $100 donation to the File Hills Powwow Committee, period. Allow me the liberty of pointing out to you the fact that the four File Hills bands pump in at least $100,000 into your town annually from monies budgeted for welfare only, period. Certainly, we do not feel we are asking too much of you when we request $100, period. Yours truly, Noel Starblanket, Chief. Get that out today and have it out to them by tomorrow so you can get our $100 by the end of the week. Right, thanks.
You're gonna have a big powwow up there this summer.
Yeah, they do pretty well every year.
They're gonna knock you guys up for some money.
Well, that's nothing new.
People generally kick in, or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're pretty good. They spend all their money here, so we might as well give them a little too.
And they treat us like scum. That's the feeling I've been getting anyway, and I'd like to push these town residents into, see, they're ripping us off all over the place for all kinds of money that should be available to us. So I say we use this as a lever. That's the kind of things you got to negotiate with. Like I said before, money talks, and you got certain control over certain monies. Use it to speak for you. There'll always be money around, because as long as there's an Indian problem, there'll always be money. And you can't say that we're going to solve the Indian problem next year or 5 years from now. The Indian problem is not going to be solved for 10, 15, 20 years.
You're not heavy, you're light.
tell you that 2 years ago, I ran as executive secretary and I lost by 26 votes. I was disappointed. If I lose again, I will be further disappointed.
Could I have the attention of the delegates? I have the results of the second ballot. The winner is Chief Noel Starblanket.
And so Noel Starblanket is elected a vice president of all Saskatchewan Indians.
I will give you, Indian people of Saskatchewan, 2 years of my life. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you very much.